We should be live. It'll patch through here in just a second, but we should be live. Got the notification on
We
my end.
are we are connected.
Cool.
Oh,
All right. Well, welcome to this week's AR Funnel live video. We've got some cool stuff we're going to talk through today regarding our event that we just hosted. We're going to be putting out a ton of content and clips and stuff on the event right here on this YouTube channel. So if you don't want to miss
can't wait to see
all of
him.
that stuff that people pay thousands of dollars to come in from across the country, and I guess you could say world, because we had a few Canadians that popped in too. But we're going to be putting out a lot of that information here on the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss that stuff as it comes out over the coming days and weeks. Perfect. So let's hop into it, I guess, and talk about. We just ran the event and we got a lot of great feedback, and I want to kind of give like each of our big takeaways on the event and maybe the coolest thing that you heard. I'll start. One person pulled me aside after day one. Okay, so halfway through the event, and he said, "Baker, I would have paid $5,000 for today alone." And I thought that was a really cool one. I had another person say, "Hey, I made my ROI yesterday. Today's just a bonus after day one." And I'm like, that's awesome to hear. And then I had several coaches come up and say that their goal was to be speaking on our stage next year at the next lead summit. And I'm like, that's kind of a cool thing for someone
That's cool.
to come say.
That's super cool.
So those are mine.
Felicity, go ahead.
All right. So for me personally, I spoke to two of our actual speakers, and they've been to plenty of events, and they said that even though it was our first one, that it was the best event they've ever been to so far, and they've been to more than 10 each, and that was really cool, and it was a really good awareness of like how incredible it truly was for everyone, including not only the guests but also the speakers as well. I even asked a few of the speakers, I was like, did you guys learn stuff from the other people who spoke? And they're like, oh my gosh, absolutely, 110%, because each individual person was so niche down who spoke about like what their specific topic was. So that was really, really good feedback, hearing from the speakers as well. And I also have a client who I hopped on a call with yesterday, and he told me that he was like, I'm going to be your number one client inside of AR, and I want to be on the stage next year, and I want to be telling everyone how much money I made, all this stuff. And he said he's going to take everything that he learns, he's going to be popping on all the calls, and it just was a really good feeling to hear that people are so fired up about the event and they're ready to like just conquer the world now. And I just told them like to keep that momentum, keep the dedication, because we'll have you up there. Just keep on going, keep implementing. But it was really fun to hear both from the speakers and the guests how absolutely incredible the event was.
Yeah, I think for myself, when I talked to a few different speakers, that's what they said. Like, yeah, this was great. I learned a lot. And, this is the first few times we actually had some people actually get the chance to speak. Like Steven, for example. I love Steven. I think that he's a genius. He's never been invited to have the opportunity to share his knowledge. So we gave him his first shot of like sharing the world his knowledge, and I cannot wait to get that content back. Because actually, I didn't get to hear everybody speak because moving around behind the scenes. And so I didn't get to have the pen and paper. So I basically can't wait to get the footage back. But we spoke for so long and so many people that we actually had a terabyte worth of footage. That'll break a laptop from one weekend. So just imagine, like, that's someone's like, "Hey, you get a recording?" I'm like, how am I going to get you this recording? It's not gonna work. Right? This is turn into a movie because our VIP sessions were 2.5 hours. 2 hours of just talking and whiteboarding, which I had a lot of fun with. I think all in all, though, man, we talk about day one, we talk about day two. We did leads. That was the primary focus. And I want to talk about some major takeaways that I think that we had and try to pick out a few speakers. So I think first and foremost for me, I'll start with Steven. Understanding that when we're talking about stories and reach, what low quality content actually is. Resharing somebody else's story in your story where they tagged you, low bar quality content. You sharing your reel in your story, low bar quality content. Um, the best content is the content that you upload. Instagram doesn't want you to share other people's stuff. They want you to be a creator, not a sharer. So are you doing the things to actually create the content? So a few tips here is, if you, and it's a great example, like Michael Smoke talked about and shared AR. And so when we reshared that, and then inside my story, I saw the views are half of what they should have been from the previous one. And it's like, but man, I really want to show Michael Smoke saying that, hey, like if you're looking to scale as an online coach, this is the company to go with. And I'm like, share it to the world. And they're like, no. And I'm like, man, that sucks. So a good tactic that you can use here, because I want to basically take these things and get you to use them, is screenshot that piece of content, upload that mention, and then tag them in it. That way you still get the credibility, you still get the nice post. It's just you uploading it as a creator versus sharing it as just a sharer, right? So that was one thing that I got from it. The other thing is understanding that it's percentage of videos watched. It's not time length. So for example, if you have a reel that's a minute long and you post and people watch 45 seconds of it, you're like, man, that's great. It's like, technically that's 75% completion. It's not that good.
Yeah.
You want to have a full, a full completion of video. And so that's why usually the ending are always like so short, because they don't want you to drop off and hit like a 93%. They want 100%. So your story's the same thing. If you have a lot of people clicking through your stories fast, it's going to be like, this is low bar content. It's not even worth completing. Don't send it to people, right? Instagram's objective is to keep you on the platform. If your content is boring, they will then leave that app and go somewhere else to do something else. So it's only going to push out things that people watch full completion of. So keep that in mind when you're creating content. I'll give you a great example that you can tactically use. If you have 60 seconds worth of speaking, break it up into 4 different 15-second clips. Because the odds of somebody watching a full 1 minute is probably not very likely. But if you can break it out into shorter pieces, then you can break it down to where it's like, this is a topic, this is a topic, this is a main point, and then you'll have a higher completion rate, getting you more views. Also using the things and the features inside there. So slide bars, the stickers, not links though, because that takes them off the platform, right? Remember, we need to create engaging content that people want to watch, that don't click away from it, and that you originated. That is how you grow your Instagram account, through stories and through reels. So that was really big for me, perspective of him. The other thing to that is knowing that if you'll basically delete your stories in the evening before midnight, then tomorrow when you start fresh, you're not going to start on an account has 200 views, let's say, because you normally get 1,000, but you're at 200 when you go to sleep. And it's because people have gone to sleep and they stop watching it, and that's telling Instagram, hey, this content's no good. No one's clicking it to watch it. Don't send it out to anybody else. Mm-hmm. So if you clear that the night before, and then you post again the next day in a physical calendar day, now you have a fresh piece of content that gets shown to your audience, get the most engagement. So basically what that means is, don't do late night rants on your story, or it's going to kill your views. And the next day is going to suck and suffer from it, even though you was putting out the secret sauce in the evening. So you want to put that stuff fresh in the morning, that way the most people see it throughout the day, and it gets the most amount of shares, engagement, and taps. So from there, Baker talked about Maureen. She was day one, keynote of the day, shocked the crowd. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, she's she's just phenomenal. We talked about it a little bit after and in between, but she's going to be somebody that is getting paid 5 to 6 figures to speak on stages much bigger than our first event very, very soon. And it's crazy because I think today actually might be her birthday. I think she turned 21 today. Insane, right? Absolute insanity. But she introduced, I think, a very unique perspective, because she's very blunt, but she's kind of like so happy-go-lucky about her bluntness. Like she's just very much like, People, my clients will come to me and be like, Marine, it's so hard to post. And I'm like, no, it's literally not. You just sit down, take a video, and then you press post. There's zero pain involved. It's not like I'm asking you to like pull off your fingernails. It's taking a video of yourself and pressing a button. That's it. So if you remove the pain from it, then I can do 100 videos a week. And I'm like, whoa. And everyone after she'll hit you with like a one-liner that's just such a simple idea, but it's like this complex idea that she's just kind of simplified and been like, yeah, I just tell myself that that if I do an extra 5 videos, then I don't have to do my laundry today. And then she'll be like, then I push it back, and then I push it back, and then I push it back, and then before long, the laundry kind of starts to take care of itself. And it's simple stuff like that. But she'll say something, and I had the cool vantage point of being in the very back of the crowd. And as she kept hitting us with these things, people, what she would say a line, and people would be like, oh my God. And like people like look at each other and be like, holy cow, like, who is this girl? And she's just got a very unique perspective. But at the end of the day with Marine, we've implemented a lot of the same stuff of what she preaches on for content automation for the three of us. I know Felicity, your sister's doing a lot of helping you with essentially everything that she's got going on. Mike, we've got people that are doing some of our stuff, but her content automation system is a good portion of why we've seen explosive growth, I think, in the business, because things are just going out and it's not necessarily relying on us. So that's helped a ton in what she talked about a little bit. And then also just the idea of not having to have highly curated content. Nothing Marine posts is edited, right? She just posts the straight up video so she can hit her benchmark every day. So she shows up way more frequently than anybody else in social media. And it's funny because she talks about how she hates being on social media and doesn't want to be on it in like a decade. But that's her entire life. That's what she thinks of. We think of her as, you are social media. But she's like, yeah, I spend like 10 minutes a day on it. And she posts more than anyone else in that room. So she had some really cool ideas, and she was just making these super complex things sound so simple and so palatable for everyone in the crowd. So it's always a pleasure to get to hear her speak about any of that stuff to me.
I actually have something pulled from both of them. One thing that Steven said that I personally really liked, now that I'm saying this, I am blanking on it, so I'm going to actually jump back over to Marine. Marine brought up the fact that like it's so like, not only is it so easy, but we're always our own worst enemy, and it really opened my eyes to being like, wow, it's honestly just a volume game. And we get in our own way when it comes to posting content, and being able to post 3 times a day, which I've actually started to do. Just like simply taking videos in the car and just taking those videos and chopping them up. She said that she's a professional yapper, and I was like, literally me. I talk all day, every day to clients, and I'm like, why in the world am I not just videoing good pieces of content when we're doing our social calls or our sales calls? When I have an idea, I could just pop up my phone, record what I'm about to say, and then from there, be able to post that and utilize it as content for AR, which I think is huge, because we overlook these simple things. And you guys can start doing this with having coaching calls with your own clients. Steven, what I was going to say for him, one thing that I was like, or Steve, sorry, he said that Instagram loves connection, and it kind of blew my mind. I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So being able to go back to your stories and start engaging with the people that just like your stories, because that's going to actually boost up your posts even more. Because Instagram is going to see like, oh, wow, this one piece of content, this story is causing this much more connection. We're going to push this even further to other people that are following this person. So if you're able to start these connections and this conversation with others who are following you just from them viewing and liking their story, it's going to boost up people watching your story, in turn getting you more leads, more clients, so on and so forth.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. It's a great point. What were key takeaways you guys think from day 2?
Day 2.
Talking about funnels.
Yeah, so before we actually jump there, I want to mention one other thing I thought was really brilliant was Paula talking about some of her challenge stuff.
Yeah.
So much so that like I was like, oh, that's really good concept. Because like, as much as I'm in the business, I'm not at the same time, right? Giving her own autonomy. But like I saw Jared Hamilton being like, hey, I'm going to talk to her after the event because I want to put some of this into my group and my business. So it's really cool to see like other speakers going like, hey, mental note there. That's awesome. Because that means like if you're putting out real value, then other people that also understand business and have value are going, that was good. And so I'm dictating my event on how much did my speakers learn. That's if I know it was an awesome event or not. Because I know, regardless, people in the audience, we're going to learn. But when the other speakers who are also fortes in social media go, noted, that tells me, hey, we're on to something here. And that was the entire mission, was to put out the best event that we possibly could. So I'm excited to see what that happens. Day 2, man, I thought Will's was really great, understanding retention. So many coaches think more versus keep. I think that's a really big one to understand. I thought Zach was very clear in what he does, understanding the power of a funnel, allowing people to come in, speaking directly to the client. I'm going to have to say, though, I think stole the show Saturday, in my mind. It's definitely going to be Jared. I thought Jared was phenomenal. Because of the importance of his topic. I opened up the day on Friday talking about your message is the reason you're not growing. Like being super clear, and Jared just like broke the walls off that thing and said, hey, this is what your messaging is supposed to be. It's like, basically it was like, how do you help people? And somebody answered, through this, and this. He goes, that's your how, but that's not, he said, that's how you help them, that's not what you help them accomplish. And it was just like, people were just like, oh, like, okay, now I know what nurturing really means. So I thought that was really neat, and he spoke on that. Also, too, I thought, let's hang on for a second. Baker talking about scholarships was also brilliant, so good. So many people. How many people wanted to do a scholarship after you talked about that?
All of them.
Like 10 different of our clients that were there, like, yo, and immediately we were like, hey, at VIP session, if you're not a VIP, go get yours set up so you can get your scholarship started. Even 2 of the speakers, which is great too. So
yeah.
Again, when one speaker takes notes from the other, it's really cool to see.
Yeah.
Really cool to see.
No, yeah, I thought Jared was phenomenal. Jared, he was saying words to a lot of these coaches that we talk about, but we never really thought to actually explain that and talk to them about it in terms of top of funnel and middle of funnel content. And I had several people come up to me or talk to me later on in the day that were like, I know what my problem is. And these people would have never used this terminology before hearing from Jared and hearing him kind of condense it down. I know what my problem is. I've only been posting top of funnel content, or I've only been posting middle of funnel content. I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, coaches that step in as a coach, like post something that helps bridge that gap between maybe influencer and getting a bunch of views to coach that gets a bunch of clients. And so I think the way that he approached that and talked about that kind of opened up a lot of people's minds to where their gap might be, because he was so transparent. I feel like all the speakers were, but super transparent in terms of pulling back the curtain on, this is what I do and this is how I do it. All my top of funnel looks like this. I do this type of content. This is what the typical views on it looks like. All my middle of funnel content looks like this. Gets way less views, but it's the stuff that actually pushes people into it. Here's the mediums I use for middle. Here's the mediums I use for top, and then going through. But again, every one of our speakers, they're just such good communicators because they took this huge complex ideas and they distilled them down into very easy to digest and easy to utilize and understand pieces for people to kind of run away with for the weekend, which is why I think people's brains hurt by the end of the weekend.
What about you, Felicity?
Yeah, so my personal for at least Saturday was definitely Jared as well. Like you said, Mike, he definitely took the stage. And it really put into perspective too, since I work with so many of the coaches that are on the platform, like just seeing like what his level of nurturing is. He even said, he's like, I have husbands that think that their wives are cheating on them with me, because he is so dialed in and he lives and breathes his ideal client. And it just kind of shows, like, if you don't know your ICA yet, you need to really get that like pinpointed, and you need to talk directly to them. A lot of the time we think, oh my gosh, where like we can help anybody and everyone, but we really need to think like the smaller and more narrow we can get, the more vertical we can get. And Jared does a fabulous job at this, and he speaks directly to them. Like he knows their pain points so very well, to the point where he even knows that, oh my gosh, this person has an issue directing from their childhood. And that's kind of what causes that like cheating idea, because the husbands are like, how did he know this about you? But he doesn't know about that specific person. He just knows his ideal client so well, and he can convey that message to them like bread and butter. Unbelievable. And it just kind of also put into perspective too, like where can we deepen our connection with our ideal client as well.
Yep.
Yeah, well put. I thought Matt Vincent was very well placed as well. I thought he was a great kind of break from the X's and O's to talk about some things that a lot of founders just need to hear and need to be reassured on. And then, bringing it in and kind of closing it down with sales call structure and Will, and then our kind of last little talk there with you, Mike, was I think it was really cool. So it was, all in all, I think it was an extremely valuable event. I got a lot of great feedback on it, and I'm excited for the next one, whatever that looks like.
Same. I think it's going to be good, and I'm excited to put it together, see who's going to show up next year. Definitely got some repeat people, got some new people too. But you don't never know who's going to emerge this year out of the shadows of like this person is. I feel like Maureen, Steven, Michael Smoke. Like we didn't even talk about Smoke. Like he came with some heat, no pun intended. But just so articulate in the way that he speaks. It was so good.
Very good communicator. And he talked about things like inflection point and removing filler words and, speaking with conviction. I think he said the 3 C's to the 5 C's of like consistency and conviction and communication and all the different things that he said. But a lot of things that these coaches had never heard in terms, none of them are educated on becoming public speakers, but he talked about a lot of that and it made people be like, oh, that's why this person's better at communicating than me, because they've done these things.
Well, let me ask you this. What was your biggest actionable that you took away from the event?
It's a tough one. I've been talking on kind of our group calls and client calls is, I'm just hit over 5,000 followers. Right. But I'm looking back at my stuff after hearing Jared talk about top of funnel, middle of funnel content, and just having a good reminder on that. And like, none of my content is top of funnel.
Yep.
All of it is middle of funnel. And I'm sitting here and from like, scratching my head because I'm like, a coach could watch my content and start making 10K a month just from watching my content. And like, why is that not going viral? Why is that not getting better views and better retention and better shares and all that?
That's
like,
good stuff. Yeah.
Because and I'm like, but no new people are seeing it. And also a huge chunk of my followers are already paying us. So it's like, I'm just doing middle of funnel content to people that are already paying me.
Yeah.
That doesn't grow the page. So I took away, for me personally, I need to be creating more middle of funnel or top of funnel stuff, because the top of funnel is what's going to get more people to see the middle of funnel, which is going to get more people inside the system.
What about you, Felicity?
Yeah, I think I already kind of touched on this earlier, is like just volume and actually putting out the content, because I've always been in my head about it without even recognizing that I'm in my head about it, in a sense of just like getting the content out. It doesn't matter how many views, doesn't matter how many likes, because I see like, oh, only 200 views on this one, and then I'll get in my head and I'm like, well, what's the point? And having someone else like my little sister help me post, I immediately called her after. I was like, we're changing everything. I was like, we're posting 3 times a day on absolutely every single platform. And she's been helping me do that, which has been such a game changer. And I've been posting 2 to 3 times a day now. And really? I know that also helped out. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
And I'm just, every single time I'm in the car driving home or to work, I'm like videoing myself. I've made more videos the past 5 days than I have in the past 5 months, which is kind of mind-boggling, but it got me out of my head, and I'm like, just post the dang content. It doesn't matter, just do it. You never know what will take off, and she really put that into perspective for me.
Love it. I think my biggest action is just I think it's I actually hit it right before we actually even had the event. It was just reassurance of just ICA. Just getting really clear on the messaging. Who do we help and how do we help them? Like, who are we trying to go after and who are we trying to speak to in our content and the people that we're trying to help. And I think also too, understanding the capacity of the mission which we're actually on. You know, it's pretty amazing to see, based on the amount of coaches that we have, the amount of impact and lives that are touched every single month by helping coaches help people. The more people they train, the more people that we're able to make an influence on in a healthier direction to fight this, obesity pandemic. And it's crazy to know the impact that like every team member has. And that's really cool to be a part of, especially on the tip of the spear, as they would say. So that was probably my biggest thing is don't try to help businesses, just keep trying to help coaches. And I'm excited to dive into that. And when we have this and the next event next year, it's going to be worthwhile, and it's going to be a true impact, and I'm excited to be there.
Yeah, we're really excited to do some of these satellite events too, leading up to it, to continue to hone in messaging, to continue to just go deeper on specific topics and help people on more of a deeper level rather than drinking, water through a fire hose for a weekend. It's like,
Totally.
let's just drip this thing out and workshop it all together and really grow in this one area. And then let's do it again in a month or 6 weeks, and again in a month or 6 weeks. And so we're excited about these things, all of it. It's very, very cool.
I'm excited as well, and I'm already in the works with it. Maybe we'll create a separate video where I'm explaining what my ideas and thoughts are and get people to comment below what it is they want to do.
Love it.
Sweet.
All right, guys. Well, like I said, if you missed the very beginning of this thing, make sure you hit the notification bell. We're going to be posting a ton of long form and short form content on this specific YouTube channel from the event. Mike and I's speeches, the stuff Felicity had to talk about via office hours, and with some of our testimonials that they went through, different speakers and what they had to say, and you're really just trying to make that as available as everyone as possible. But it's going to be here on the YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. That's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Love it. Bye, guys.
Cool.
Let's see, we gotta get you a new one.